Hello. Hello. So we are now officially live on both the Facebook and YouTube and also on Instagram. So please do not worry if I'm not looking directly at you at all times. But hello to everybody who's watching either live or on the recording of this session. My name is Jamie and I'm here at Happy Fabric today to talk to you all about how to apply HTV properly using an iron or a handheld craft press. So to start off with, I think the really important thing to note is that any professionally applied HTV, so clothing that you buy from big retailers, places like that, they will be using a heat press like the one behind me to apply the HTV. So that's really important to talk about because while you can apply HTV using your iron at home and it will work, you need to be replicating being a heat press. You almost want to try and be a heat press yourself because there are three main components to getting that perfect application, and those are temperature, time, and pressure. Now, as you can probably imagine, a heat press is the top choice for doing this. So I definitely recommend if you're selling what you create with HTV to invest in a heat press, because unlike a regular iron, that's going to give you your very exact temperature, even temperature, your time and your pressure as well. So three very key things as we go throughout this live. So as I said, but today we're looking at applying HTV with an iron. So we don't start at applying the HTV. We actually have some prep to do beforehand, and this is just as, if not more important than applying the HTV itself. So the first thing, we're a very handy bunch at Happy Fabric, is when you order the HTV from us, we will give you a cheat sheet in the post with it. And what this will tell you is not only how to wash clothes that you've applied HTV to, how to apply it with an iron, also on the back will give you cutting settings. So if you're using a cutting machine to cut the HTV, it also gives you that temperature and time on there as well. So this is the first place you need to be looking to prepare yourself for applying your HTV. With colours and lots of different finishes of HTV, like the lovely Happy Fashion that I've got behind me. So definitely check that sheet to see what temperature you need to set your iron to. Typically, this is around the 2-dot setting, but with no steam. It's so important that any part during the process of applying your HTV, and even beforehand, you don't have steam on your iron. And this is because the moisture in the fabric can affect how well the adhesive sticks to the fabric. So definitely no steam before we even begin. So as I said, the process starts when you actually apply the HTV, and this is in the step called pre-pressing. So this essentially, if we were using our heat press to pre-press fabric before applying HTV, literally just pressing for a few seconds, nice and easy. And with the iron, exactly the same thing, but you just want to iron your clothes over with no steam to get all of the creases and all of the moisture out of the fabric. This is a really important step, like I said, because if your clothes or your fabric have been stored maybe in your craft room or in your warehouse or wherever they've been, or even before they arrive to you, they could have moisture hiding in there, and a lot of the time they will be creased as well. So first step, pre-press with your iron, just give it a quick iron over to get rid of the creases and the moisture that might be in your fabric. So that's step number one. And then step number two is obviously set your iron or your press to the correct temperature, typically, like I said, 2-dot setting with no steam. If you're using something like Happy Flock, the sheet will tell you it's 165 degrees instead of the typical 150. So just move a tiny bit above the 2-dot setting for that one. So once you've got at the perfect temperature, you'll then want to apply your vinyl, pop it onto where you want it. And then another really key part is this stuff here, which is called release paper. So some people use Teflon sheets for this. You can also use grease-proof paper from your kitchen if you want to, which can be a bit curly, but essentially that's to protect the vinyl and your heat plate from your iron or your heat press during the process of applying the vinyl. If you're like me, very occasionally when I've got some smaller pieces of vinyl, I'll mistake the dull side for the shiny side, put it the wrong way up, and it sticks to the greaseproof paper, but at least it's not stuck to your heat plate or your iron. So again, very important, make sure you've got yourself a sheet of release paper or greaseproof paper, Teflon sheet, whatever you're comfortable working with, and pop that over your vinyl to protect everything during the heating process. And then for the heating process itself, you'll again want to look at temperature and timing. Once you've got your temperature sorted, you'll then want to press down for however many seconds you need. So again, the heat press does take a lot of this effort out. So it's got the pressure set already, lets you know when the time's up, and it's got that even temperature throughout. So you want to understand this in order to understand what exactly you need to do with your iron. So for example, you've got a different heat plate on your iron than you would on a heat press. Not only is it a little bit smaller, it's also a different shape. And you might notice these lovely little designs in there. So it's not completely flat either. So you want to take this into consideration. And also something about irons, they can vary in temperature. So it's not always an even temperature throughout the plate. So bear that in mind as well. But the basic principle of using your iron to then press your HTV, again, you want to replicate the heat press, and you just want to hold your iron over the sheet of greaseproof paper with the vinyl underneath, and then press down firmly for however many seconds you need to do so for. Don't wiggle your iron. I know it's really tempting to apply vinyl just like you're ironing clothes. Don't do that. Again, like I said, the professionals will be using a heat press, and that kind of clamps in place, so you've got that temperature and time and pressure for the exact amounts. So you can do this with your iron by obviously setting the right temperature, holding down, so applying that pressure for the right amount of time as well. If your design is bigger than your iron plate, what you need to do, once you've pressed one bit for the right amount of time, lift it up, move it across to what hasn't been pressed, and repeat the process as many times as you need to. What you might notice when applying vinyl with your iron is that very occasionally you'll get that little peel at the edges. This is, as I said, the heat doesn't always spread evenly on an iron plate. It's a bit of a funny shape as well. So what's likely happened is that the edges haven't got that time, temperature, and pressure right. So what I like to do is go over any edges, just once again with the iron, and make sure they've got that time and pressure. So just as an example, so again, the reason why I've got the Happy Press out today to explain using an iron is you want to try and be a Happy Press. You want to try and be a heat press when applying vinyl, because that will give you the best application possible. So I've got two different pieces of vinyl here, which go down at exactly the same temperature and time. It's got some happy glitter, you can see there, and then some happy flecks here. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to layer these up a little bit. This is a tote bag that I started making on a TikTok live, funnily enough. So again, as I said, the process would be the same using an iron. Have it on your fabric, place the vinyl down after pre-pressing, your sheet of greaseproof paper over the top, and then pop it under, and make sure you're pressing down firmly with your iron for the full amount of time. Again, if it's a bigger design like this one, you've only got your iron to do it, you want to move across the right amount of time as well, and then out. So another tip that I think is often forgotten is going back to our little cheat sheet here. So as I said, you've got the cut settings, you've got the heating temperature, and you've got the time you need to take as well. But you've also got a really handy column that you notices right on the end here, and that is the peel column. So everybody's favourite part of applying vinyl is peeling the carrier away and seeing that lovely finish underneath. But what you'll have here is the peeling temperature of the different vinyls. So how long you need to leave that to settle in before removing that top layer. So for example, I've got here Happy Flex, which I've used. So that's a hot peel, so I could peel that off straight away. Whereas things like Happy Flock, a little bit thicker, you would want to leave that to be, where is it? Oh, it's right at the top. So that's a cold peel. So you'd want to leave that just to cool to the touch before you peel that off. I think that's something that a lot of people like me get a little bit impatient and rip it straight off, but you do want to leave it the right amount of time as per this sheet. Very handy sheet. Whenever you order vinyl, do not get rid of the sheet, although it is also on our website. So under every Iron on Vinyl page that we have, you can download the PDF that will tell you all your settings. Okay, so these are both hot peel, sorry. So let's do the glitter first. Again, my favourite bit. Came straight off because I'd actually left that longer than it needed. And then this is a really weird shape. Let me find an end. So here comes the flex. There we go. So this is a layered design in HTV, and you could just as easily do this with your iron. Again, just making sure you're doing each of those steps exactly right. So just to recap what we've been through so far on how to properly apply the HTV, you do really, if you're wanting that professional finish, longer lasting, you want to replicate a heat press as closely as you can. Again, if you are running a business or selling what you're making, definitely recommend investing in a heat press because that's going to give you accurate time, temperature and pressure that your iron sometimes just can't. So make sure you're pre-pressing before you apply your HTV, giving it a quick iron over with no steam. You then want to set it to about the 2-dot setting, depending on the vinyl type. If it's thicker like flock, move it slightly up a bit, just above the 2-dot setting. And then you want to pop your vinyl design on, one layer at a time, shiny side up, and then grab your sheet of release paper or Teflon sheeting over the top and press down firmly in place. No wiggling, no moving around for the full amount of seconds. Pay attention to those edges as well, like I said, because that's a very common asked question to us. Why is my vinyl peeling at the edges when I use my iron? It's often because the heat just hasn't reached right to the edges of the iron plate. So definitely watch out for that. And then after pressing, as I just said, make sure you know what temperature you can peel the carrier off at, and you're good to go. So other than this, other things you can do to make your projects you've made with your iron last longer. So again, returning to my handy little sheet, honestly advise you to even keep one of these, pin it up on a notice board like I have, so you can always refer back to it when you're printing. So you've also got your washing and ironing instructions for the garments after you've created them. So for example, you need to let the clothing rest for 1 to 2 days before putting them through a wash. And then you've got the washing temperatures on here as well. Again, these are, I've had tops that I've forgotten that I've vinyled. I've had them for like years and years. They've been through washes, all sorts, and survived. But again, these instructions, if you want the most longevity out of your makes, definitely follow them. You need to wash and iron them inside out. And we don't recommend tumble drying once you've applied HTV to an item. So there you have it. Those are the main points that I would say about getting that proper application of HTV with an iron. If you remember one thing from this live, I hope that it replicates a heat press. Make sure you are channeling your inner happy press and you've got that time, temperature and pressure, and you stay in one place as well. So I'm just going to answer a few questions. I know Instagram, you guys are up here, and then I've got YouTube and Facebook here. So I'm just going to go off screen very quickly just to read some of the comments that I can see popping up here. So One question we've got is, what's the shiny vinyl behind you? I love it. Thank you. So move out of the way. So this is our Happy Fashion vinyl, and I've popped it here for a very good reason, because next week we'll be going live to demo the Happy Fashion range and show you some of our special effect vinyl, because it is so incredible. Look at that sparkle and shine. I don't think the pictures on the website could ever do it justice, because they're so incredible when they move on clothing. And we've got Halloween and things coming up as well, so really great for costumes. But yeah, the event is already up on our YouTube and Facebook under our live event section. So definitely check that out if you want to see more of these beautiful special effect vinyls. So can you use steam for ironing beforehand? So again, the need to pre-press is to remove creases and moisture from the fabric, because that can affect the adhesive. So really, you don't want any steam during the whole process. So not when you're ironing beforehand, and not when you're applying the vinyl. Some people find that it does work when they use steam, but you'll inevitably get a little bit of peeling and things like that if you do use steam, just for that reason that the moisture in the fabric will affect the adhesive. So I have a business and I want a heat press, but worried it will take up so much space in my bench. That's fair enough. So we have lots of different sizes of press. So this one is the largest. So this is an A3 Happy Press 4. We've also got in an A4 size. And we've also got the 2.1s as well, which are a really great option if you're looking to save space. They're quite easily transportable. There's one just off screen. Let me grab it for you to demonstrate that. So, as I said, they're quite easy to kind of move around with. That's what they're designed for. Pop it down behind me. So this is the white one. Again, like all of our presses, they come in pink, white and turquoise. It fits very neatly into an IKEA calyx as well. So that's definitely something to bear in mind. Yes, definitely if you're looking to invest in a heat press for your business, have a look on the website at the different options that you've got. All the dimensions, the exact dimensions will be on the page for you. So thank you for that. So is this the same for cricket irons? So yes, it is. So some people have the small handheld cricket irons. So essentially not really a heat press. They're more of kind of a mini iron. So yes, these instructions definitely apply there. You want the 2-dot setting and not to wiggle it around. Make sure your HTV gets all of the heat, time and pressure for the exact measurements that we give as instructions. So, yep, absolutely. And what a lovely one to end on. So I'm going to try this. Thanks. Lovely. As always, if you do have any questions at all about the process, just get rid of this for YouTube. So as ever, if you've got any questions about the process of applying HTV, or different types of HTV, anything like that, definitely drop us a message. We specialise in heat transfer vinyl, heat presses, and now heat transfers as well. So we definitely know a thing or two about heat printing. So I'm going to go ahead and end the Instagram live first. Thank you for joining us. And then I'm now going to end the YouTube and Facebook live. But yeah, drop a comment or send us a DM if you need any further help. But we'll see you next week for our live around Happy Fashion special effects vinyl. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining me.